Welcome to The Third Chair, a show about real people, real stories, real life. And here are your hosts for The Third Chair, Peter Grigg and Doug Bazeski.
Okay, let's face it, we're having too many artists on the show.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you can have too many artists. It's like having too much popcorn. My daughter said the other day she made too much. She was at this event. She said, I made too much popcorn. I said, no, that's not possible. And then we can't have too many artists.
Well, we're fortunate to have Aleah back, artist, local artist. It works in a variety of mediums, and tonight, amongst other things, she's going to answer some common questions that artists have. So it is our privilege to have Aleah. Welcome to The Third Chair. I'm Peter. That's Doug. Still Doug. And we're here with Aleah, artist, workers' comp claim adjuster.
You got it.
Oh man, talk about dualistic. On the one hand, you're slopping paint, pardon the pun. Yeah, on the other hand, you're very neat files with exact numbers. And, you're in category A or B or C. So let's talk about that. So, what kinds of regular jobs do artists have?
You probably work with artists. You probably know somebody who's an artist. They just may not talk about their work.
Sort of like a secret artist.
You never know. I mean, everybody I know knows that I'm an artist because I will go on a walk on my break and come back with oh, look at this weird mushroom I found. And look at this scrap of paper that I found.
Well,
I mean, not that kind of weird mushroom.
Yeah, that is very popular in the artist community.
That's not my bag.
That's good, yeah.
Or paper. The other day I walked into my office and I guess a warehouse somewhere got cleared out and I had a stack of recycled paper that was just because people know that I am a bit of a hoarder when it comes to good textured paper.
Mm-hmm. For your artwork.
I grew up lower middle class. Both my parents worked. My mom was a housekeeper or maid. She ran her own business. My dad worked in a variety of different jobs. And our life was complicated. I have 4 brothers and sisters. We were always the people who...
Blended family?
Blended family.
Well, even makes it more complicated.
Yeah, they had 2 from my mom's first marriage, 2 from my dad's first marriage. One of my aunties lived with us. My brother's friends have lived with us. So we had a lot of people in a little house and not a lot of resources to go all the way around. My parents tried the best they could, but I am the youngest in the family by a solid chunk of time. So it is very important to me and who I am as a person to have the stability and structure of regular employment. Not every artist does that. Not every artist wants to try and balance those 2 worlds. But it's super important to me, and I luckily love my job.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I have been with District 11 for 7 years. I
7 years.
started at Midland Elementary School. Go Mustangs. And I worked in there for an office, and I built this amazing just life there, community with these amazing kids and their families and the staff. And then moved from there into HR at District 11. And I had my son, and I was working a ton, and I wanted to...
Are you a poet?
No. My friend Susan is, though. And you can find her at Kettle Black and First Friday.
She'll be on the July 1st episode.
But I moved into... I had previously, in one of my many previous life experiences, worked in corporate HR, so I moved into District 11 HR, and then COVID hit. And HR at a school district during a pandemic is a whirlwind, to say the least. So after, what felt like a lot longer than almost 3 years being there, I recently transferred into the risk management department, where I have taken on workers' compensation, and it's a whole new world and a whole bunch of new stuff to learn about, and it's awesome, and my boss is great, and he's been in the business for like 30 years, so he just has like a wealth of knowledge, and I have a great team, and I have my own office, and I love working for the school district because it's...
that is so fantastic. I mean, it's not, people hear the term starving artist, and so it's not unusual that to one extent or another, artists have some sort of side hustle. It may be their own business. What I've also found happens, and let me know if you've noticed this, that sometimes artists, they go into professions that are very close to what they want to do as sort of a pure artist. Like you might have a visual artist that becomes an elementary art teacher, or a writer who really wants to write. Well, he ends up being a lawyer because he can do a lot of writing, but it's not exactly pursuing your role as a pure artist. Are most of the people you hang out with at the pot calling the kettle black group, are they people that sort of mainly have side hustles, or do most of them have just like a regular job on the side?
It's really varied. My good friend Kirsten, she runs her own watercolor business where
you're saying that on the break.
Cool. She hand makes beautiful watercolors, and she's a visual artist, so she also paints. Versus Chris Woolley, who's also in Kettle Black. He's retired. He worked in printing for years and years and years. And then you have Sofia Hannah, who is art teacher. She teaches classes at, will soon be teaching classes at Bemis through Fine Art Academy, or Fine Art Center. And she also teaches classes at Cottonwood. And she's also a barista at Starbucks.
Oh, true art.
Right.
Yeah, you ever see how they make the little foamy, the little foamy leaf?
She can make you a beautiful latte with lots of foam art, and she keeps us caffeinated. And but yeah, so I think it really varies. Some of my biggest mentors growing up were art teachers who were artists in their own right, and they also were educators. So I originally went working in District 11 because I had such fond, wonderful memories of some amazing teachers in my life. And that was like a very, I love working with kids, and I remember having all these amazing teachers. Why don't I go work for education somehow?
If you had unlimited money, would there be like a place in the world that you'd go to pursue your art, either an institution or just a geographical location?
Is world tour count?
World tour.
Travel everywhere. I love to travel. I love to see new places. I love to get out and meet new people and experience new cultures and see new things that I've never experienced.
So where do you want to go in the world that you have not been?
Oh, I have not done a lot of traveling, but I would really love to explore all over Europe. The great masters, the cathedrals of Europe, like the Sistine Chapel, and all of that. I would love to go to Paris and go to the Louvre, and I'd love to go to Italy and all over the world. I would love to just go experience some of the great classic art of the world. I've only been out of the country a handful of times, but I've been all over the United States, and I love traveling. I love experiencing new things, and I love art. So
here's an
unlimited
idea.
money.
Get on a cruise ship. I bet you could work a deal where you're on a cruise ship, and your contribution to the cruise is art lessons or art time, either for kids or
maybe a little complicated with a 2-year-old.
Oh, you'd make him the guest instructor.
Oh, okay, yeah. And he would probably do great because he loves to talk.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he can be on next week's podcast.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And you mentioned Paris and Italy, and there's just absolutely so many great places. We're going to take a break, and when you come back, I'm going to ask, is there a art book or a person who has a certain technique that's particularly inspired you? When we come right back. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Grigg, a life and recovery coach with Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. I've had the pleasure and privilege of helping people for over 25 years. I want to hear your story, support and encourage you while we partner together to help you reach your goals. I can help you. I am certain I can help you. I can be your guide, role model, resource person, and help you get results. What's my coaching frameworks? I'm an eclectic coach drawing from a variety of disciplines and frameworks with evidence-based proven methods. What would you like to work on? Some popular areas are goal setting and attainment, building and maintaining motivation, finding purpose, personal development, recovery from drug and alcohol addiction problems, health and wellness, life planning, athletic and creative artist performance enhancement, maybe something else. Just ask me. I would love to help you. You can find my services on Fiverr.com. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter. That is still Doug, and we're here with Aleah Farrell. Aleah, thank you for being here with us. When we left off, I asked the question, okay, so who's the man or the woman, artist, famous or not, that's influenced you the most, or you've studied their technique the most? You mentioned that one guy last week that sounded like a French biscuit, manicotti or something. Who would those people be?
Definitely. I think artistically, big influences are Modigliani. That's your
Modigliani. Sounds like a pasta.
It would probably be.
That's going to say a pasta, not a biscuit.
Yeah.
He was French. I mean,
maybe some kind of eclair.
Another one that has been super impactful for me is Robert Rauschenberg. Who
Never
is?
Heard of him.
I know.
I like him,
cool. It's okay.
Yeah, but
he does these super cool things. They're called combines, and he took printmaking and abstraction and pop art and reproduction and collage and turned it from 2D, integrated it into 3D. So look up the Combines by Robert Rauschenberg.
Yeah, we've got a very intelligent viewer base, so they probably all know about him. Yeah.
Everybody we know are smarter than us.
I mean, that's what they say. If you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
If they loan you the money.
So you mentioned that you came from a blended family. Let's talk about you as a child. Did you show early signs of being an artist?
I have always loved art. I was super lucky that my family, even though they maybe didn't understand my later work, has always been super, super supportive, as much as they could in whatever way they could. And as a kid, I was always drawing or painting, or I think I have little books from elementary school where I was like, I'm going to be an animator for Disney when I grow up because I want to be an artist. So it's always been a huge part of my life. I fell away from it for a few years, and then just in the last couple of years have really gotten back into it, started making art, started getting involved in the art community here, and it's been life-changing.
Now, you have such an interesting background. So, was it in a pre-production meeting you had talked about a date in Texas where you were squirrel hunting and out sighting rifles?
So I'm trying to remember why we got to that, but I don't remember why. Oh, I think we were talking about guns, and how I grew up in the South. So, worst date I've ever been on in my entire life. We drove out to the country and spent like 6 hours sighting rifles, which is like shoot a bullet, see where it hits the target, adjust it like 3 millimeters, shoot a bullet, see where it hits the target, adjust it 3 millimeters.
And tedious.
Technical work.
Yes. I was just like the girlfriend, so I wasn't even like shooting the rifles or getting to do anything fun. I was just like walking around being bored. Super fun date. At the end, once the rifles were sighted, they went squirrel hunting, and my date shot a squirrel, and then his dad said, "You shot it, you gotta gut it and clean it," and he cried.
Oh.
And then they...
who got it and cleaned it?
He did, but he like cried the entire time that he was doing it. But his dad was like, "Well, you shot it, so you got to do it." And then they drank a bunch of beer, and I got to drive us all home.
Because you were like the only one sober.
No,
Did you go with that guy again?
Not to do on a date, guys.
Do not do that on a date. It's not a good idea.
How to woo a woman.
On a romantic scale of 1 to 10, that's -4. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that is so hysterical. Now, on a more serious question, you were telling me that us at our pre-production meeting that your father was an atheist or agnostic or something like that, and your mom was more religious. How did that affect you in terms of growing up, and also did that have an influence on how you approach art or think about art as well?
Yeah, definitely. So my dad grew up in a very, very religious family, could quote any scripture out of the Bible forwards, backwards, inside out. And if he didn't, he would get like physically punished. So he didn't grow up with a great understanding of religion or spirituality. To him, it was a punishment and it wasn't good, and he didn't like it. So by the time he and my mom got together, he was a full-scale atheist. My mom was kind of agnostic, undecided for a lot of years, and then when I was high school, she became a born-again Christian, which was a very complicated dynamic in the family, but not an antagonistic one. Like I mentioned before, I grew up in the South, in the belt buckle of the Bible Belt, so I grew up. It was not uncommon to go to a sleepover on Saturday night and then go to church with the family in the morning, or to go to spring break church camp. So I grew up with this very, once again, dualistic idea of religion and spirituality. Spent a lot of time in my late teens, early 20s, investigating different religions and researching different religions, and kind of landed in my own mixed up, confusing understanding of spirituality.
So is it confusing to you?
No, not anymore. I've spent a lot of time with it, and I feel really grounded and centered in my faith. It may not be how everybody understands God or religion or spirituality, but in a lot of my work, you'll see different symbolism and iconography from traditional Roman Catholic paintings and artwork, a lot of Renaissance artwork and paintings.
Yeah, I was wondering if how much the Renaissance kind of flavor influenced you, or how much you incorporate that. Because some of your art, and I've only looked at what's on Instagram, it definitely gives that vibe.
Yeah.
Almost a Central American kind of a Renaissance feel.
Right. Well, my Hispanic heritage is super important to me. The Catholic faith is not one I was brought up in, but it is one that my family and my heritage grew alongside.
Mm-hmm.
So those aspects of Hispanic culture and Hispanic life and different things like that have definitely made their way into my work, because that was my primary family of understanding growing up, was more my mom's side, my Hispanic side, my, island side, all of that integrated. My mom grew up in Southern California. That was all a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So as I have gotten older and my own faith journey has progressed, and I have come to a better understanding of who God is and what God is and what does that mean to me and how does it impact my life, those are all things that I try and bring into my artwork, and those are all things that I try and explore through my artwork. And they change every piece, every time I come at it. I feel like art is a very meditative process. It's a very healing process.
Sure.
And bringing all of those different layers into my artwork has been a really great way just to process and understand and grow, not only in my faith, but in just life.
So you have one child.
Yes.
So how in the world do you make time to do art when you've got a regular job and a young child?
And you can answer that after our break.
We'll get back to our guest in just a moment. But
Do you have a story to tell?
would you, yes you, like to be a guest on The Third Chair?
Send us an email and tell us about yourself and your story.
And please follow us on social media.
Now back to the episode.
Welcome back to The Third Chair. I'm Peter, that's Doug, and we're here with our special guest, Aleah Farrell, artist, and she has a lot of other talents. And we left off asking a question about a mom of a 2-year-old and a regular full-time job and doing the artist adventure. How do you make time for it? Is there, do you do all your artwork like between 1 and 5 a.m. or what do you do?
Sometimes. I definitely make time for my art. Luckily, I have a super awesome supportive artist community, and frequently I just bring my kiddo with me to the studio.
Oh, how awesome is that?
Yeah, so he has a whole little corner in my studio, and I set him up with toys and art supplies, because he loves to paint and he loves to draw and he loves to make a mess and he loves to paint on mommy's paintings. And
Does he make them better sometimes?
definitely.
No, but that is so great. That's so creative a solution to make it work.
And my amazing friends at Cottonwood, there's multiple artists who bring their kids, so we will work in Mom's studio for a little while, and then we'll go take a walk, and we'll go talk to different people around, and we'll go visit other people's studios, and we'll go for a walk down the street and get a coffee, or across the street and get some
So he drinks
tacos.
coffee?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a very refined palate. He really likes like a dark roast espresso. And
Like with lots and lots of milk and lots and lots of sugar.
mostly milk, not too much sugar, minus the coffee, and in a bottle.
In a bottle. Oh. Sounds great. So Doug has a few other kind of, if you were the coach of all the artists watching, what advice would you give?
Great, I can get right in my kettle black advice giving, not following chair.
And the catch is you're going to have to do all your answers. You can't just say them and not do them.
I don't know about that.
Like the kettle black people there. So, Coach, how do you identify a meaningful project that promotes your life purpose?
Ooh, that's a big question.
We ask big questions on this show.
Yeah. I don't know if I like specifically identify a big project before I start working on it. I like to think of myself as a very intuitive artist. So a lot of the time when I start making something, I don't necessarily know how it's going to finish. I think...
So if you start something and then like at 2 in the morning you said, oh, what if I do this to the painting? What do you do at that time?
It depends on the day. It depends on what I need to get done at work the next day. There have been times where I just have to walk away and say, hopefully that idea will stay with me. And then there's other times where I have said, okay, I can push it another 30 minutes and just try and get as much of that idea out on the canvas as possible.
Wow.
And then I don't sleep, and I try really hard to wake up in the morning and drink a lot of caffeine so I can be a productive member of my...
With no milk, huh? No sugar.
No, that's my son.
So, Coach, how do you deal with creative blocks?
Creative blocks, I take a break, walk away, or take the work and take it to a friend, take it to a colleague, maybe get some critique from somebody else, maybe get a little bit of support from my community. Cottonwood does like a monthly artist cafe where you can bring work in that you're trying to struggle with, and anybody that's working on something can show up and give you feedback. I take pictures. I take a lot of progress pictures. I post them online, so sometimes my online community gives me feedback if I'm stuck on something. And sometimes I just pull out a big bucket of gesso and start over.
Gesso? Is that like a razor?
Kind of. It's like a minerally thick paint that you put on canvases to prime it. It's like primer for your walls, but it's primer for your canvas. And there has definitely been an occasion where I'm so stuck and I can't figure out what to do next. So I just wipe the whole thing out and start something new.
Do you listen to music when you paint?
A lot of times I do. I also listen to a lot of audiobooks. But a lot of music. I just am, in general, a big music fan. I love to go see live music. I like to have music on in the background when I'm hanging out with my kiddo.
Do you ever think of like changing the music? Have you tried that?
Definitely. Or
if you're
turning it off sometimes to let my brain percolate a little bit more.
Maybe the book is boring you and you change the book, or change the book to music.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different ways. I find I talk things out, emotions, feelings, problems, artwork. So that is actually kind of how Kettle Black got started. Was we would all just talk things out. So I have a lot of that I am super lucky that I have available to me. Amazing artists that when I get a mental block or stuck on a piece or stuck in my head and I can't focus, I can take it to the committee.
Mm-hmm.
So do you sometimes ask your 2-year-old, like, what should mommy do with this painting?
I have, but he doesn't always provide the most constructive criticism. Usually it's let's watch Daniel Tiger, or go on a walk, or go play.
Well, going on a walk might help you.
Do you ever watch
Or
Paw
play.
Patrol?
We haven't gotten to Paw Patrol yet. Right now we're in Daniel Tiger, PJ Masks, and a lot of there's Dinosaur Train.
Dinosaur Train, wow.
Yeah.
Well, they all changed from my dog.
Yeah.
So Peter, did you seek watch those shows together?
We watched Paw Patrol.
Okay.
I didn't even know about Paw Patrol till this year. You know, and I told Ron, I said, I found this amazing a show called Paw Patrol, and she says, I've got Paw Patrol examination. She's a pediatrician. Examination rooms that we've had them for 10 years or whatever. It's like, man, I felt like so stupid. I didn't know Paw Patrol, and my whole family mocked me.
That's funny.
Yeah,
so that's probably not too uncommon for you.
Yeah, no,
Just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, well, very much.
You hit a sore spot in that question.
Sorry.
The sore spot on the show has been like when I fell asleep with a guest and he caught me.
He yawned.
I yawned, yeah.
Pretty big yawn.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the guest and he was looking at me and he knew that Peter yawned and he just turned and said, called him on it and I'm talking, you shouldn't.
Sick or something, I don't remember what, but it doesn't matter. So do you have another coach question there?
Yes. I need to study this one. Okay. A lot of going on in the world. Think about this during break because this is very complicated. There's a lot going on in the world these days, with the COVID and other things happening around the world and, getting close by. And how do you deal with that and try to paint some optimistic paintings or, so they're not, not all your work is depressing or anything like that. So think about that, and we'll talk about that when we get back.
Hi, it's Peter from the set of The Third Chair. I just want to put in a good word for my good friend and owner of 9 Round Kickboxing in Colorado Springs, Melissa Lance. Her studios provide a phenomenal workout in 30 minutes. I know I've benefited from it over the last 2 years. I've lost over 30 pounds and really appreciate the encouragement, the excitement, the expertise of the trainers. It's a great workout. I encourage you to check it out. That's 9 Round Kickboxing in Colorado Springs.
Welcome to The Third Chair. I'm Doug. That's Moving Peter. And Aleah is here giving us, she's actually coach because she's giving us coaching advice on being an artist. And she's going to talk about, with the harsh realities going on in the world these days, how can you have optimistic paintings and things like that?
I think with art, well, personally for me, with how crazy the world is right now, I use art to process things. So for me, I might be trying to work through a super challenging, complicated environment or feeling or just what's going on in the world. Because I incorporate a lot of media into my paintings, they may not at first glance maybe look that dynamic or maybe look that politicized or that focused on any one particular thought. But because of the media that I choose to incorporate into my collage work, I feel like I can layer those ideas and thoughts and feelings into a work that maybe doesn't at first glance look like it's working through a lot of emotions, but because I use a lot of layering and I use a lot of media and outside things, like a huge thing for me in my work is using something that was discarded and ready-made and fast and maybe meant to be looked at once and thrown in the garbage into a fine art piece that is maybe going to sit on somebody's wall for a very, very long time. So I would say that. I hope that kind of answers the question.
So second chances for the material.
Exactly. Second chances for all.
Okay, now this is a big fear. Artists, I think, painting artists, film artists, writers. This is fear of rejection. So you don't want to complete your work because you're afraid nobody will like it or anything like that. How do you overcome something like that?
I'm doing it right now. That's, I think, probably a big reason why I have anxiety and fear about talking about my work, because I made it. It's mine. I put all of this thought and energy and time into creating this piece, and then I want to let you decide. I want you to decide, what does it mean to you? I want you to decide, how does it make you feel? I think part of that trepidation to talking about my work is, well, I did this and I had these feelings when I was making this piece, and then somebody saying, well, I don't really see that. I think I see like Marvin the Martian, or like, I don't know. So I think that's part of putting yourself out there. So pushing those boundaries, making yourself uncomfortable, volunteering to do a podcast with 2 random strangers.
Well, yeah, we are kind of random.
When I retired, I said, I'm going to do stuff outside my comfort zone. And one of them is pronouncing zone,
Yeah.
So
Well, you certainly have.
Yeah.
He's done a bunch of acting. It's like a big deal. Yeah, well
That's
done.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Like, I really wanted a goal for this year to be to get more comfortable talking about my work. And this has been one of those first steps that I could take to do that, and I'm super excited that I did.
And you sound very comfortable so far.
Thanks.
So, but Peter's going to give you more questions because he needs a lot of coaching.
Definitely. I've heard a lot of artists say how hurt they were from people growing up saying things like, oh, your art sucks, you're no good. Elementary school teachers, sports coaches, even family members. Is that something you've noticed or something you've had to deal with? People like just being discouraging when you're younger?
I think I was super fortunate in that my family was super encouraging, and I had some really amazing teachers that helped guide me and not even necessarily understood. I think my dad said, like, why can't you just like paint, a vase and some oranges? That would be a lot easier for me to understand. But they never said don't do it. They never said you can't do it. They never said what you're doing is bad. They just didn't always necessarily understand. I think that is a big part of people feeling rejection. Is not always necessarily somebody wants you to feel that way. It's just a misunderstanding or a miscommunication or
a lack of validation that's a little more direct and powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. So, do you actively try and manage your moods? And by that I mean, if you say you're feeling down and you want to do art, do you actively try to make yourself feel happier, or do you let, say, a down mood be the driving force for your art?
I definitely think I try and just work with what I'm feeling. I don't know if you really, even if you are trying to manage your mood, are you really managing it, or are you just like pushing it away? And with my art being so deeply personal and intuitive, if I were to try and manufacture a mood or manufacture a feeling, I think it would come across in the piece as fake or inauthentic.
Well, I mean, you have your favorite kinds of music. I'm sure there's times when you have felt a certain way, and then you've put on the music, and maybe you're dancing around your studio and singing along, and
Did all you from Kettle Black go around dancing in the hallways when you do this?
I am gonna say no, but also don't ever look at the video of the hallways late at night at Kettle Black, because we are having rolly chair races and like seeing how far we can slide down the hallways in our socks. And it just turns into a really silly, mostly unproductive, but sometimes productive working environment.
Now, are there any foods that work for you for helping create art or drink, and or rituals or things like that you like to do that may even sound unusual.
For sure. So one of my favorite things recently has been I will bring my son with me to the studio, maybe on a Saturday or whatever, and we'll play around and have fun, and he'll do his thing and I'll do my thing, and we'll go on walks, and we don't really get a lot done, but he has now become so comfortable being in my studio, he will take his afternoon nap in my studio. Ooh. So I will get him all set up and all snuggled in and turn on some like calm music, and he will take his nap, and I have the door shut and like nothing is outside of that room, and I don't know, I love my son, he's my life. I just focus on him and what a great day we're having, and for however long he sleeps, make art.
You got a couple of hours at least.
Yeah, if I'm lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, what we're going to do when we come back is I'm going to ask the question, is there anything that you have not had a chance to talk about over these last 2 weeks that's kind of burning, it's like, oh man, I wish I had a chance to talk about this, when we come right back. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter. This is Doug with our special guest, Aleah Farrell, artist. And we're going to wrap up this last few moments together with her sharing about where she has her office again and some of the community events that are available there. Definitely.
Well, we... at Cottonwood Center for the Arts every first Friday of the month, every month, as long as COVID allows. We have a event from 5 to 9 where we have new gallery openings downstairs, so new shows opening. Tons of artists are there. You can walk around the center.
Is there a cover charge?
No, it's totally free.
Totally free.
Totally free unless you buy drinks or art. And it is a super fun night. Like I said, lots of artists are there. They have their studios open. You can come check out the art, check out the studios, check out the artists. Sometimes we have live music. Sometimes we have performance artists. Sometimes we have just really cool, super fun things going on. Please come upstairs to the second floor.
I saw musicians playing on the second floor on your Instagram.
That's right. We have had 2 or 3 bands play upstairs, sponsored by the Kettle Black Art Collective, in an attempt to try and get more people to come upstairs to the second floor, level 2, and it's just a really, really fun night first Friday of every month, Cottonwood Center for the Arts, and that is from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So hopefully everybody can come and check it out. We're there all the time. It's super fun.
So if you're in Colorado Springs, you're downtown, right?
Right. We are just, what would that be, southeast of downtown before you get to Memorial Park on Colorado.
All right. And you are different than like the Cottonwood Recreation Center.
Yes. We're downtown, not way up north. We are not a bike path.
Pool.
We are not a auditorium. And if you want more details or you have questions about First Friday, I am more than happy to answer those.
And there's a website?
They would contact them and you?
Yes. So you can contact me directly through Instagram. My Instagram is afarrellartworks, at afarrellartworks. My email is afarrellartworks@gmail.com. You can also find my information on kettleblackartco.com and cottonwoodcenterforthearts.com.
Now, you'd mentioned that one of the people there was going to teach at BMIS. Do they do courses at Cottonwood as well?
Yes. So a huge draw. That's actually how I found Cottonwood in the Springs, is taking classes there. We have artists not only from Cottonwood, but just in the general community that will come and teach classes, either a one-day class or a multi-week class. They're usually really affordable, really great quality instructors, and super duper fun. We pretty much have a class for anybody who's interested in art, in all different kinds of art, almost any day of the week.
Wow, that's fantastic. And there's definitely beginner level.
Yes.
You know, so like if Doug wanted to go down and learn to paint flowers, there'd be something for him.
Doug
perhaps?
can come and learn how to paint flowers. My awesome friend Ben Byers teaches a landscape class in acrylics.
Oh wow!
And you can be a total beginner, never picked up a paintbrush, and Ben can show you how to paint a beautiful landscape picture. He just got back from Hawaii. Check out his Instagram.
Wow.
And yeah, he's one of our instructors and an artist, Ben Byers.
So for these classes though, I mean, do you have to go and buy a whole bunch of supplies ahead of time? Do you get like when you sign up for one, do you get like a list, or can you sign up for a class and go down and most of the supplies are supplied? How does that work?
So you register for classes online at Cottonwood Center for the Arts. We have a listing for all of our available classes. There will be the cost of the class, and then there's usually a listing for a supply fee that you then pay directly to the instructor.
All right, so you don't have to go to a local store and try and
You don't have to
figure
go
out
anywhere.
if I need to buy a French beret or
I mean, if you want to buy a
pellets.
French beret, you are more than welcome to. But for example, my good friend Sofia is teaching a gold leafing class right now. It was $100 class and a $40 supply fee, and people just could show up, and she had all the supplies and everything you needed with enough for you to take home afterwards to keep experimenting.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been our pleasure to have you. You've been really interesting to talk to and listen to. And so from those of us here at Two Men in a Duck Entertainment and the Third Chair, good night, and please remember to subscribe, like, share, and hit the notification bell icon so you know when we've uploaded another episode.
This has been the Third Chair. Want to be a guest? Want to sponsor our show? Send us an email. Please subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media.